In this video, we'll build a video rig for the Nikon Z8 camera. In fact, here it is right here. It's based around SmallRig's dedicated 3940 cage. In other rig videos in this series, and there's a total of 9 now, counting this, covering everything from rig builds, components, power solutions. The main approach that I've taken has been full-fledged rigs with audio and video recorders monitors, so primarily designed to be tripod mounted. This video, and the rig we'll set up here, is going to take a somewhat different approach. Hi, Ray here. I bought the Nikon Z8 as a lightweight alternative to the Z9. The Z9 is an incredible video camera in itself, but certainly heavier and bulkier than, say, the Z6 system, which was the subject of the first rig video in this series. Also, to accommodate the Z9's battery grip, SmallRig had to manufacture a workaround to provide a front-facing rail block. I'll touch on the Z9 cage later. So when it comes to the Z8, and my use case, this version is going to be more of a run-and-gun approach. This cage continues SmallRig's heritage of finely machined goodness, great ergonomic design, and preserving access to all the camera's functions. It's really well thought out in that regard. The card door on the right, ports on the left, battery door, function buttons are still usable. The focus mode button requires a bit more dexterity, shall we say, but I've always found that kind of awkward with or without a cage. When it comes to the 10-pin remote terminal on the front of the camera, I can't use the MC30A remote release. Its orientation just won't allow it to clear the cage and seat properly. However, I also have an equally vintage MC20 timer release that works just fine. Of course, it's highly unlikely I'll ever need to use these for video, but if I have the cage on for stills, and the built-in Arca Swiss dovetail fits my FLM ball head perfectly, if you wanted to use this cage for photos, add an Arca Swiss plate on either side for verticals and you're good to go. On the left side, there's also an integrated NATO rail and all the other threaded attachments I'll ever need. Quarter 20, 3/8/16, Airy 3/8/16, locating hole, cold shoe mounts, QD mount, and a strap slot. As for attachment to the Z8, SmallRig have included the usual magnetic tool, which has saved me on at least one occasion when I forgot my multi-tool. There's the main slotted quarter 20 here, but also, and this is excellent, a second screw that coincides with the anti-twist locating hole on the Z8. And that really goes a long way. Well, it eliminates lateral twisting of the body and the cage. I never expected the Spanish Inquisition, but it works like a charm. So, the whole one-piece construction of this cage, compared to the 4-piece, I think it was, Z9 cage, is similar to the Z6 cage, and it's very rigid. So, while I stressed that the third attachment point to the camera, strap lug, was very important with the Z9, and if you're unfamiliar with this process, it means that you have to remove the triangular ring from the right side strap lug, so the supplied M2.5 screw can be inserted to add more rigidity. The same approach is used with this 3940 Z8 cage. And I'd suggest following SmallRig's instructions. But we can see that there's very little flex, even without the extra attachment point, due to that rigid one-piece construction and the second anti-twist pin. I'd say that unless you add a lot of weight and swing it around by a top handle, well, I'll leave it to your good judgment. The term run and gun can be interpreted in a lot of different ways, covering a wide range of setups. At its runniest gunniest, I guess you might just have the camera and lens, and maybe attach at least one side handle, which adds a lot of stability. Now, SmallRig makes any number of these. I like to take advantage of the left side built-in NATO rail. This handle, the 2427, seems to have been discontinued. The replacement, though inexpensive, omits the integrated cold shoe. So you'd need to add one if you need that. Anyway, as I said, there's still plenty of options from SmallRig. I don't usually add a right side handle because Nikon's grip is, well, it's the best grip there is. A top handle is really handy and essential, I think, if you plan to shoot some low-angle footage. Options are for screw-in, or if you want to add and remove quickly, NATO or ARRI. Most often I take advantage of the ARRI locating hole on top of these cages. On my big rigs, I added a complete base plate and rail system that supported everything from follow focus to, on the rear of the rig, my external audio recorder. As I said in those videos, all those peripherals weren't exactly conducive to run and gun, and I only use those rigs in the studio and on location where I'm pretty much stationary. I also used a full-size XML shotgun mic with those rigs, and more on that in a minute. Depending on end use, I do try to produce the best audio I can, and the Tascam DR60D Mark II certainly helps. But again, as I mentioned in other videos in the series, I often turn to tiny lightweight wireless systems like the Rode Wireless Go. That signal can be sent to any of the other external devices, but if we really want to keep it simple, straight to the camera. It all depends on how much fidelity you need for the job at hand. This kind of setup is great, say, if you mic an interviewee, so the solution I use in cases where I need audio rather than when I'm just out shooting silent B-roll, intended for use over the main timeline, I either use a camera-mounted shotgun mic with 3.5mm input, something like this Comica V30 Pro, which I'll take a closer look at in another dedicated video. It's plugged right into the camera, or, as I say, into a wireless transmitter, then to a dedicated recorder. I could also, if I really wanted to keep the rig light, use the built-in mic on the wireless transmitter. And again, right into the camera. Depends entirely how much gear I want to carry. In passing, I'll just mention the Tascam CA XLR 2D AN analog interface kit. And that was developed in collaboration with Nikon, and that would answer the needs of those who want the highest quality audio output to the camera using XLR mics. This device is compatible with all Z system cameras and weighs 357 grams, not including batteries, mic holder, etc. Now, to power options. I made follow-up videos on power options for both the Z6 and Z9, using a dummy battery for the Z6 and ultimately V-mount batteries in both cases. The Z9 offers USB-C power delivery. With the Z8, we get not just one, but two USB-C inputs, one of them PD. So we can hook up something like the MCN10 remote grip and power the camera as well. And Nikon must have been reading my mind, because when the grip was first announced, I thought, that's great, but how am I going to power the camera now? This second USB-C port answers that question. To date, I haven't bought the grip, but at least in this kind of lightweight arrangement, I can take advantage of the PD input to power the camera with, say, one of my power banks, like the Anker PowerCore 20,000 mAh unit with PD. That powered the first iteration of my Z9 rig before I added a V-mount battery, attached with SmallRig's holder for portable power banks, BUB 2336. There's all these quarter 20 threaded mounting points to choose from, but the top of the side handle makes the most sense here. So you can still embrace that great camera grip. Incidentally, SmallRig also makes a version of the Z8 cage for use with the MBN12 battery grip, numbered 3982. The SmallRig Mini Matte Box 3196 is small and light enough, just 470 grams, 16.5 ounces, to add here. When it comes to the all-important ND filters, the Mini Matte Box takes 4 by 5.65 inch and 4 by 4 inch cinema filters, or, as I've demonstrated in this series, variable NDs. You may use something else like magnetic filters from companies like Case or K&F Concept. But when it comes to a monitor, well, that's going to be an individual thing. I have a 7-inch monitor from Neewer, which kind of defeats the purpose of this compact rig that we've built to this point. And my Atomos Ninja 5 used on the Z6 in particular, which weighs 360 grams or 12.7 ounces. Add another 63 grams for the sunscreen, just a couple of ounces. We needed that even to record 10-bit from that camera, the Z6. And remember, that was the first camera ever to record RAW over HDMI. But with the Z9 and now the Z8, we have internal recording of fabulous 8K 10-bit, SDR, log, or HLG, as well as RAW. But that's another video, perhaps. The point is, we don't necessarily need an external recorder, so if you decide you want something a bit bigger and brighter than the Z8 3.2-inch tilting LCD screen, which is pretty decent, then something like the 5-inch Atomos Shinobi, which weighs in at just 196 grams, 7 ounces, minus battery. For me, the main advantage here, besides the bigger, brighter screen, will be the addition of exposure tools like full-size zebras, waveforms, RGB parade, and especially false color. Because the Z8, like the Z9, only has zebras and a small waveform. When it comes to lenses, for a rig like this, in the interests of weight, I do try to stay with primes. And in my opinion, the relatively budget-friendly and lightweight answer is the Z 50mm f1.8s, the first Z system lens I bought. The most versatile lens, I think, would be the amazing 24-70 f2.8 zoom, which I don't yet own. Its f-mount equivalent, which I do own, is a bit heavy and is noisy. So, unless you get the mic off the camera, longer lenses, in my opinion, are better suited to stabilized rigs. And yes, the Z8 is certainly perfect for use on a gimbal. And if any gimbal makers out there want me to test the Z8 on their gear, I'm your man. So in summary, this Z8 cage represents another excellent product from SmallRig. And I'm not just saying that because SmallRig provided this cage to review. I've actually been buying SmallRig components since I built my first rig for the Z6. And I really think they do a good job. And I'll add affiliate links in the description. As per the title and intent of this video, the Z8 combined with this cage makes for a brilliant run-and-gun style rig. Let's look at some of the variations on this theme. At its most basic, maybe with just wireless audio or a lightweight shotgun mic, we can keep things under 6 pounds. The cage itself weighs just 203 grams, 7.2 ounces. The Ninja 5, with cage and battery, adds 726 grams, 1.6 pounds. The power bank, with this clamp, adds 450 grams or 16 ounces. So rig with Ninja 5 plus matte box, 7.6 pounds. But even fully kitted out with the external power bank, Ninja 5 cage and battery, matte box, mic, associated cables and whatnot, we're still within what I and my arthritic wrists would still categorize as run and gun. In fact, at 8.2 pounds, that does add a bit of stabilization. Pair that with the Z8's excellent IBIS, not to mention using higher frame rates or adding stabilization in post, you can get some very nice results from the Z8 and a few extra rig accessories. So I hope you found this a useful addition to the video rig playlist. Please give it the old thumbs up. It really does help the channel. And I'd love to hear what kind of solutions you've come up with. Please do share your experiences in the comments. I'll link the whole rig playlist right here. And if this is your first visit to the channel, please consider subscribing. We'd love to see you again. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. In the meantime, take care, cheers, and we'll see you later.